The small hand rested on my arm. 7 years old. Dark eyes, pink jacket worn thin at the elbows. She didn't speak, didn't have to. The way she looked at me, straight through me, like I was the only person in the world who could possibly understand, told me everything. Then she did something that stopped my heart cold. She lifted her small hands, crossed them over her chest, arms folded like she was holding herself together, like she was asking silently, "Do you see me? Will you help me?" The hug signal, the distress call Emma taught me 2 years ago. The same signal I'd watched my daughter demonstrate in a hospital bed, serious as a funeral, while machines beeped around us and she was still trying to protect me from her own dying. I froze. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and my throat. Then a man's voice cut through the moment, like a knife. "Lily, come." The girl's hands dropped instantly. Her face went blank. A practiced blankness that no 7-year-old should ever master. She stepped back from me and walked toward him, and I watched her disappear into the crowd of afternoon shoppers at Oakwood Mall like she was being swallowed by water. I stood there in my grey janitor's uniform, holding a dirty rag, my whole body shaking, and I knew everything was about to change. My shift started at 5 a.m., before the sun remembered how to shine. Oakwood Mall was a ghost town at that hour, just fluorescent lights humming their endless electric prayer, and me, Marcus Webb, pushing a mop across cold marble that reflected nothing but emptiness. The sound of my footsteps echoed through the corridors like I was the only person left alive. I liked it that way. No one watching, no one judging, no one asking questions about the man who used to be something else, someone else. A life that existed before everything went dark. I changed into my uniform in the maintenance room, gray polyester that smelled like industrial detergent and other people's shame. The name tag read Marcus Webb, but most people never bothered to read it. I was just the help, the invisible man, the ghost between the glass railings and polished surfaces. That was fine. That was safe. I had a system. West Wing bathrooms first, then the food court, wipe the second-floor railings, empty the trash near the main entrance. Routine kept my hands busy. Routine kept my mind from wandering to hospital beds and yellow scarves and the sound of a child asking why the medicine wasn't working, why her body was betraying her, why Daddy couldn't fix it. Emma, 8 years old, gap-toothed smile, obsessed with books she'd never finish reading. 2 years dead. Some mornings, when the fluorescent lights hit just right, I could swear I saw her sitting on the bench outside the bookstore, legs swinging because they never quite reached the ground, talking to me about the novels she wanted to read. When I get better. She never got better. Cancer doesn't care if you're a good kid. Doesn't care if you're an engineer's daughter with a house and a future, and parents who loved her so much they nearly destroyed themselves trying to save her. I pulled out my phone between tasks sometimes. The lock screen was Emma holding a stuffed bear at the hospital, her head wrapped in a yellow scarf, still smiling anyway. Always smiling for me, even when I knew the pain was eating her alive. I used to be someone different. Before Emma got sick, I worked in architecture. Had a wife. Had a house with a backyard and a mortgage and dreams that made sense. But when your daughter is dying, your boss doesn't care about your deadlines. Your wife doesn't understand why you'd rather spend everything on experimental treatments than keep up with the house payment. Eventually, the job disappeared. Then the house. Then the marriage. My ex-wife left 6 months before Emma died. Said she couldn't watch anymore. Said I was obsessed. Said I was choosing a losing battle over our marriage. Maybe she was right, but I'd make that choice again 1,000 times. After Emma died, I needed work that didn't ask questions. Work that didn't require references from a past I couldn't explain. Janitor positions always needed bodies. So that became my life, the man who cleaned up after everyone else went home. Most people never looked at me twice. I preferred it that way. But I still looked at them. Old habits from my engineering days. I noticed things. The way someone held their shoulders, the small bruises hidden by sleeves, the exhaustion that came from carrying secrets. I noticed because I had been invisible long enough to understand what it felt like. And I knew that invisible people saw things that others missed. That was how I first noticed Lily. It was a Thursday afternoon when I saw her. Dark hair in a ponytail, pink jacket. Sitting alone at the edge of the playground area they'd set up for kids, staring at her shoes like they held the answers to questions she was too afraid to ask. Most kids in that playground were loud, running, laughing, fighting over the slide. This one sat perfectly still, perfectly silent. The kind of stillness that made my chest tighten instantly. I recognized that look. A man stood near her, tall, late 40s, dark jacket, clean cut. Nothing obviously wrong with him. But the way he watched her made something cold settle in my stomach. Not like a parent, not like family, like someone guarding something valuable, something he owned. He glanced at me once, then dismissed me immediately. The advantage of being invisible. People assumed you weren't smart enough to notice anything important. The girl looked up for just a second. Our eyes met. There was something in that look, a question, a plea. A hand reaching out from underwater. Then the man said something sharp, and she dropped her gaze. He took her hand, and they walked toward the exit. I told myself it was nothing. Told myself I was seeing ghosts, reading danger into innocent moments because grief had rewired my brain to expect the worst. Told myself that not every quiet child was in danger. But I couldn't shake the image of her eyes. Over the next week, they came back 3 more times. Always in the afternoon. Always the same routine. The man, I'd learned his name was David Brennan, would sit on a bench scrolling through his phone, while the girl, Lily, sat alone in the playground area. Not playing, never playing. Sometimes other kids would try to talk to her. She'd shake her head and turn away. On the second visit, I saw a bruise on her arm. Small, yellowish, the kind that comes from fingers gripping too hard. On the third visit, I heard her crying in the women's bathroom. Soft, muffled, like she was trying very hard not to make noise. When she came out, her eyes were red and swollen. Brennan was waiting right outside. He put his hand on her shoulder. She flinched. I should have done something then. I know that now. But what was I supposed to do? Walk up to a stranger and accuse him based on a feeling? I had no proof, no evidence. Just an old man's grief, making him see pain everywhere. On the fourth visit, everything shifted. I was wiping down the glass doors near the entrance when I saw them come in. Lily was carrying a stuffed bear, brown fur, black button eyes. The exact same bear Emma used to carry everywhere, the one she held in her hospital bed during the last days, the one I buried with her because I couldn't stand to keep it in the apartment. I dropped the rag. My hands started shaking. It was just a coincidence, just a common toy. But it felt like Emma reaching through the veil of death, grabbing my collar, shaking me awake. "Pay attention!" she was screaming. "See her! See what's happening!" Brennan led Lily to the same bench. This time, she didn't sit next to him. She stayed standing. He said something. She shook her head. He grabbed her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to remind her who was in control. Then he let go and walked toward the restroom. Lily stood there holding that bear against her chest, and that was when she turned and looked directly at me. Not a glance, a stare. Like she'd been waiting for him to leave, like she'd been planning this moment. She walked slowly toward me. My heart hammered against my ribs. She stopped 3 feet away, close enough to speak without anyone else hearing. But she didn't speak. She just looked at me with those huge dark eyes that seemed too much for 7 years. Then she lifted her hands and placed them on her shoulders, crossed them over her chest. The hug signal, the silent cry for help. The exact signal Emma had taught me from a video we watched together during one of her hospital stays. A video about how kids could ask for help when they couldn't say the words out loud. Emma had made me practice it with her, serious as a surgeon performing a life-saving operation. Dad, if I'm ever in danger and can't speak, I'll do this. I never thought I'd actually need to remember it. But now, 2 years after burying my daughter, another little girl was standing in front of me using that exact signal, a signal that said, "I am not safe. I need help. Please see me." I could not breathe. Then Brennan's voice cut through everything. "Come on, Lily. Time to go." She dropped her hands immediately and stepped back. He reached her and took her arm, smiled at me, a polite, dismissive smile that made my skin crawl. Then they walked away. She looked back once. Her expression was blank now, practiced, professional, like a mask she'd learned to wear. But I had seen what she wanted me to see. And now I had a choice to make. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat in my apartment, 1 bedroom, kitchen the size of a closet, walls painted institutional beige, and kept seeing Lily's hands crossed over her chest, kept hearing the urgency in that silent gesture. I pulled out my laptop and did something I'd been avoiding for years. I opened a search engine and typed signs of child abuse, child trafficking, how to report suspected abuse. I read for 3 hours straight. The statistics made my stomach turn. Thousands of children. Most traffickers were family members or people the kid already knew. The average age was younger than I wanted to think about, and most people who suspected something was wrong never reported it. They looked away. It was easier that way. The next day, I went to my supervisor. Gerald Hughes had been the facilities manager at Oakwood Mall for 12 years. He was a heavy man who smelled like coffee and looked at me like I was a broken machine he'd rented and now had to tolerate. I stepped into his office and closed the door. My hands were shaking. "There's a man who comes here with a little girl," I began. "I think something might be wrong. I think she might be in danger." Gerald didn't even look up from his computer. "What kind of trouble?" I explained what I'd seen. The bruises, the fear in her eyes, the way she cried in the bathroom, the control Brennan had over her, the signal. When I finished, Gerald leaned back in his chair and sighed, like I'd just told him I was quitting. "Thompson," he said, "you're a janitor. Your job is to clean floors and empty trash cans, not play detective. You understand me?" "But she gave me a signal, a distress signal. I know what I saw." "A signal?" Gerald repeated, like the word tasted bad. "Listen, I don't know what you think you saw, but you can't go around accusing customers of abusing kids based on a feeling. You know what happens if you're wrong? Lawsuits, bad publicity, corporate crawling up my back." He stood up. His face was hard now. "You keep your head down and do your job. You start harassing customers, you're done here, and good luck finding another job at your age with no references. Are we clear?" I wanted to argue, wanted to make him understand, but I could see it in his eyes. He didn't care. To him, Lily was just another face in the crowd, another problem he didn't want to deal with. I was just the help, disposable. If my supervisor wouldn't listen, maybe the police would. I went to the station on my day off. The building smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. A detective named Sarah Collins met with me, a woman in her mid-30s with sharp eyes that actually looked at me when I sat down. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she folded her hands on her desk. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate you coming in, I do. But here's the reality." She leaned back in her chair. "What you've described are suspicions, observations. To actually intervene, we need concrete evidence of abuse or neglect. A bruise could be from playing, a kid crying in a bathroom could be about anything, and a distress signal, while concerning, isn't proof of anything criminal." "So you're saying I should just ignore it?" I'm saying you need something more substantial. Photographs, recordings, witness statements. Then we can move forward. My hands were clenched into fists. What if something happens to her while we're waiting for evidence? Detective Collins's expression softened slightly. Then call 911 immediately, but right now my hands are tied. I'm sorry. The way she said it, like she actually meant it, like she genuinely wished she could help, made it worse somehow. I walked out of that police station feeling like I was drowning in air. Everyone kept telling me the same thing. I wasn't enough. My word didn't matter. I should stay in my lane and let the system handle it. But the system wasn't handling anything. The system was letting a little girl suffer because the paperwork wasn't in order yet. That afternoon, Brennan and Lily came back to the mall. This time, David was watching me. Really watching me. His eyes followed my movements as I cleaned the benches. When I glanced his direction, he didn't look away. He smiled. Slow. Knowing. A smile that said, I see you seeing me. My blood turned cold. He knew I was paying attention, and he wanted me to know that he knew. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. My reflection looked older than I remembered. Tired. Scared. I thought about walking away, quitting, moving to another city, pretending I'd never seen anything. It would be easier, safer. But then I thought about Lily, sitting alone in that playground, giving me that signal because I was the only person who had actually looked at her. Really looked. If I walked away, who would see her then? I made a decision that moment. If no one would help me through official channels, I would find another way. The maintenance closet had an old security camera they'd replaced months ago and never bothered to throw away. I took it home and spent 2 days figuring out how to make it work. My engineering brain was rusty, but it remembered enough. I rigged it to record to a USB drive, hid the camera inside my cleaning cart between bottles of disinfectant where no one would think to look. The next time Brennan and Lily came to the mall, I made sure I was cleaning near them, moved slowly, methodically, kept the cart within recording range. They sat on the bench near the fountain. Brennan was on his phone. Lily sat next to him, staring at the floor. Then Brennan leaned close and said something to her. I couldn't hear it, but I saw Lily's shoulders tense. She shook her head slightly. Brennan grabbed her wrist, not gently, and said something low and sharp. Don't make me repeat myself. Lily nodded quickly. He let go and went back to his phone like nothing happened. I kept cleaning, kept recording. That night, I listened to the recording on my laptop. The audio was muffled, but clear enough. I heard his threat, heard the fear in her silence. It wasn't much, but it was something. I called Child Protective Services the next day. The woman on the hotline sounded tired but professional. I explained what I'd seen and told her I had recordings. She took my information and said someone would follow up. She didn't say when, didn't promise anything. 3 days passed. No one called. Brennan and Lily came back to the mall twice more. Each time I recorded what I could. Each time I saw more small cruelties. The way he squeezed her shoulder too hard when she didn't walk fast enough. The way he ignored her when she tried to ask for a drink of water. The way she flinched every time he moved toward her. My co-workers started noticing my behavior. One of them, a younger guy named Tim, pulled me aside one afternoon. Hey, Marcus, you okay? You've been acting weird lately. Like paranoid or something. I'm fine, I said. You keep staring at that guy and the kid. People are noticing. Gerald's been asking questions. Just be careful, okay? You don't want to lose this gig. After Tim walked away, I realized how isolated I'd become. No one believed me. No one wanted to help. And now they were starting to think I was the problem. That night, I sat with Emma's photo, the one from the hospital, her smiling even though she was in pain. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, I whispered to it. I don't know if I'm helping or just making everything worse. The photo didn't answer. It never did. But then I remembered something Emma said near the end. We were watching a superhero movie. She looked at me with those big, serious eyes and said, "Dad, you don't need superpowers to be a hero. You just need to do the right thing even when it's scary." I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Detective Collins with all the recordings attached. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then my phone rang. A blocked number. I almost didn't answer. "Mr. Thompson," a woman's voice said. "This is Rachel Monroe from Child Protective Services. I received your report about a child named Lily Harper." My breath caught. Lily Harper. Her last name. "Yes. Did you find something?" "We've opened an investigation," Rachel said carefully. "But I need to be honest with you. These cases take time. The man you mentioned, David Brennan, has legal guardianship papers. Everything appears legitimate on paper. But we can't remove a child from a legal guardian without solid proof." My stomach dropped. So he's just going to keep her. "We'll continue monitoring. But Mr. Thompson, please, do not approach them directly. Let us handle this." She hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling the walls close in. 2 days later, everything changed. I was cleaning the windows near the main entrance when David and Lily walked in. But something was different. David was carrying a suitcase. Lily had a backpack on. They weren't just visiting, they were leaving. My heart stopped. I moved closer, trying to act casual. David was talking on his phone. I caught fragments. "Yeah, we're heading out today. Back to the house upstate. Got everything wrapped up here." He was taking her away. If he left with her now, the investigation would stall. The system would move at its glacial pace. Lily would disappear into whatever nightmare he had planned. I had maybe an hour, maybe less. I pulled out my phone and called 911. "There's a man at Oakwood Mall about to leave with a child who is in danger," I told the operator. "I have evidence of abuse. I need someone here now." I could see them heading toward the parking lot. They were going to be gone before anyone arrived. So I did the only thing I could think of. I walked straight up to them. David's face hardened when he saw me coming. Lily's eyes went wide with fear. "Excuse me," I said, loud enough for other people to hear. "Is this girl okay? Miss, are you safe with this man?" David's face turned red. People stopped walking, started staring. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he said. "I'm someone who's been watching you hurt this child for weeks," I said. My voice was shaking, but I kept going, "and I'm not letting you take her anywhere until the police get here." Security guards were running toward us. Gerald was right behind them, his face purple with rage. But I only looked at Lily. She stood frozen next to Brennan, her eyes locked on mine, and for the first time since I'd met her, I saw something other than fear in her expression. I saw hope. They dragged me through the back hallways. Gerald followed, his face purple. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he said. "That man is her uncle. You just accused him of a felony in front of 50 people. He's not her uncle. He's hurting her. I don't care if you have a signed confession from God himself. You're fired. Get out." They escorted me out through the loading dock. I stood in the parking lot holding a plastic bag with my belongings, watching the mall's rear entrance, watching for police cars. I'd lost my job. I'd lost my reputation. And Lily was still in there somewhere. I drove home to my empty apartment and sat on the couch with my head in my hands. Then my phone rang. "Mr. Thompson, this is Rachel Monroe from Child Protective Services. There have been some developments. Can you come to our office?" Rachel Monroe met me in the lobby. She led me to a small conference room and closed the door. "What you did today was reckless," she began. "You could have put yourself in serious danger. But you were also right." She opened a folder. "David Brennan is not Lily's uncle. He's not related to her at all. The guardianship papers were forgeries. He's part of a trafficking network. We've been tracking this organization for 18 months. Lily Harper is one of at least 4 children they had. I couldn't breathe. Her real parents are alive. They've been searching for her for 8 months. She was taken from a park in Pennsylvania. Rachel leaned forward. The scene you caused at the mall forced David to make a mistake. When police arrived, he tried to leave quickly. That raised red flags. Detective Collins ran his information more thoroughly, found inconsistencies. They detained him, found evidence in his vehicle. And Lily? Safe. With a foster family tonight, reunited with her parents by the weekend. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. "You saved that little girl's life," Rachel said quietly. "If he'd left with her today, we might never have found her." 3 days later, I met Lily at a park near the CPS offices. Rachel would be there. So would Lily's therapist and a social worker. I arrived early and sat on a bench, watching kids play on the swings. Heard them laughing. Then I saw her. Lily was walking between Rachel and a younger woman. She was wearing clean clothes. Her hair was brushed and pulled back in a neat braid. She looked different, less shadowed. She looked like a kid again. When she saw me, she stopped. Then she ran. Just broke away from the adults and ran straight toward me. She crashed into me and wrapped her arms around my waist, buried her face in my jacket. I put my hand on her head, felt her small body shaking. After a long moment, she pulled back and looked up at me. Her eyes were still serious, still older than they should be, but there was light in them now. "You saw me," she said softly, "when nobody else did. I knelt down so we were eye level. I'll always see you." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out the stuffed bear, the one that looked like Emma's. She held it out to me. "You can have this. I think it belongs to someone you loved." My throat closed. I shook my head. "No, sweetheart, you keep it. It helped you stay strong. Keep it. And remember that you survived. That took courage." Lily hugged the bear to her chest. Then she hugged me one more time, quick and fierce. "Thank you," she whispered. Rachel came forward and gently took her hand. It was time to go. Lily waved at me as they walked away. I waved back and watched until they disappeared around the corner. Then I sat back down on the bench and let myself breathe. For the first time in 2 years, the weight on my chest felt lighter. Emma would always be the missing piece in my life, but something had shifted. Something broken and bleeding had started to heal. I pulled out my phone and looked at Emma's photo, her gap-toothed smile, her yellow hospital scarf, her grace. "I did it, baby girl," I whispered. "I did the right thing, even when it was scary." 2 months later, I started working for a non-profit that trained people to recognize signs of child trafficking. Rachel had kept her promise about references. On my first day, they gave me a small office with a window. I put Emma's photo on the desk. I put a card that Lily had sent me from Pennsylvania, a drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands. At the bottom, in careful letters, "You saved me, now I can save someone else too."